Welcome to the PVP Weekly Press Conference. Let me say that we are taking off with some other duty this morning. That is why we do it this afternoon. And I hope that you all have had an enjoyable Pago celebration and come back rejuvenated to report. With me here is our General Secretary. We have two statements which will be read by the GS, after which we will question GS.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First statement reads as follows. The People's Progressive Party wishes to respond to an article in the Kaichou News newspaper captured corruption festered by low public servants' morale. Granger. Mr. Granger is reported as saying that public servants turned a blind eye to corrupt practices because of inadequate wages and salaries paid to them, which in turn led to low morale. The PPP takes strong objections to the statement and insinuations made by Granger against public officials, the vast majority of whom serve the people of this country with high levels of dedication, competence, and professionalism. To suggest that our public servants are prone to facilitate corrupt practices in the exercise of their duties is tantamount to an attack on their integrity and professionalism. No less disrespectful is the attempt by Mr. Granger to draw a link between the salaries paid to public servants and the standard of professionalism that currently exists in the public service. The PPP is of the view that a public apology should be made to the nation's public servants by Mr. Granger, whose party not only lacks the political and ethical morality to speak on the issue of public servant salaries and conditions of work, after having pauperized public servants when the PNC held office by offering salary increases which were well below the rate of inflation on a consistent basis. One of the first tasks embarked upon by the PPP when it assumed office in October 1992 was to significantly increase the emoluments of public servants, which at the time was a paltry $3,000 per month. The salaries of public servants at the minimum level has seen consistent increases, reaching today $40,000 per month. In addition, the PPP government has kept inflation rates in check, unlike what obtained under the PNC regime when real wages were gobbled up by the monster of inflation. In this regard, the PPP commends the current administration for offering salary increases to public servants every year since its assumption to office in 1992, at a time when many countries in the region are either forced to impose salary cuts and or retrench public servants. The next statement reads as follows. The PPP wishes to congratulate the government of Guyana for conducting several successful public engagements throughout the country to inform our people of the unreasonable and unprincipled position of the joint opposition as they continue to withhold their support from the passage of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Bill laid by the government in the National Assembly. The PPP would also like to express its gratitude to the several thousand persons who attended and participated in these public engagements and who were courageous enough to express in very clear and strong terms their dissatisfaction with the joint opposition on this matter, as well as expressing very emphatic demands that the bill be passed quickly. These engagements demonstrated how well our people understand the issue at hand and are well aware of the dire consequences that the non-passage of this bill will bring to their lives and the economy of our country. We saw our people speak directly to the opposition, many of whom would have voted for them, calling upon them to support this bill and informing them that they were placed in Parliament upon the people's vote to act in their best interests and not to play puerile political games using the people's vote to blackmail them. We heard the citizens direct and consistent rejection to of the opposition demands, amendments, as well as the conditions which they are demanding as a trade-off for their support of this bill. Indeed, it was revealing to hear the problems and difficulties that the people themselves explain that they were already encountering and the sufferings they predict they will have to endure if this bill is not passed. A woman from Anna Regina explained the delay she faced to bury her dead husband because her remittance for the funeral was delayed at the money transfer agency. A gentleman from Greenwich Park, who claimed he voted for APNU, asked Mr. David Granger directly on camera, why is it that he wants to punish his supporters? A resident at Bartica voiced the opinion that hundreds of Barticians will become criminals and their cash and gold seized if the opposition amendments are enacted. The people of Linden expressed fear that the foreign investment in the bauxite industry will close operations in Region 10, and residents will return to a state of joblessness if this bill is not passed. The residents of Lusignan and Mahaika demanded mass protests and fresh elections. Indeed, one comrade from Helena, Mahaika, said that under the PNC government, he walked the streets barefoot. Today he wears Nike sneakers, which he displayed for the camera, vowing he will never walk barefoot again. Yet the people of New Amsterdam, many of whom voted for the opposition, called for the madness to end and the bill to be passed. A young man from Alboystown articulated great consternation at the International Convention Center with a consistent obstructionist approach of the opposition on matters of national interest. The rice farmers questioned on camera, how do the opposition parliamentarians expect them to acquire fertilizers, machinery, and spares when all these can only be obtained from overseas, and the non-passage of the bill will stifle international trade between Guyana and every other country in the hemisphere. It was a remarkable experience, simply listening to the views of the people, expressed on television or reading about them in the press. We view this engagement as another step in the advancement of the democratic process in our nation. Recall, after the return to democracy in 1992, our founder, Dr. Chedi Jagan, in his first address as President of the Republic to the National Assembly, vowed to take the parliament to the people so that they could have a direct input in the parliamentary process. The nation witnessed perhaps the best demonstration of this concept. The people have spoken. The message was loud, clear, and simple. Pass the AMLCFT bill, tabled by the government in the National Assembly now. They have put the ball squarely in the court of the opposition. Let us see if the opposition will once again ignore the voices of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Now the floor is open for questioning.
All right, that's good. Minister Roy, the suggestion of corruption in the public service. There have been numerous reports in Proper, and this was admitted by a staff at GRA only last week when she said we viewed as a corrupt office and we're putting measures in place. Policemen routinely stop drivers at the drop of a hat and demand a raise, failing which they would try to prosecute. The list goes on and on. Are you suggesting that all is well in the public service?
Well, you said there have been numerous reports. Reports by whom and reports to whom?
Reports by way of letters to the media. Reports by people who have been approached and who've had to pay. I, for one, have been approached.
But how much credibility do we give to letters to the media? Many of those people who write letters to the media are ghostwriters. Many of those people who write letters to the media, I didn't say all. I see some people shaking their heads. I didn't say all. I said many of those persons who write letters to the media are ghostwriters, Many of them are members of staff of some of those very media houses. Some of them are genuine letters. Some of them are concoctions. So,
But why would they concoct a letter about corruption in the public service?
because they just want to make the government look bad.
So, my colleague had a question. Are you saying that there is no corruption in the public service?
I never,
extensive
I never said
corruption.
I am dealing, Mr. Harris, with what you just said,
All right.
that there have been reports.
Yes, all
My
right.
question was, reports to whom and from whom? You refer to the media.
Right.
Well,
All right. John,
you're a media man. You will go according to the media. I cannot.
All right. Would you still deny, sir, that there is rampant corruption in the public service? I spoke of the License and Revenue Office, where if you want a birth certificate, you pay, and I'm sure such reports appear.
I'm not so sure. Where did you get this information that if you want a birth certificate, you pay? If you want a false birth certificate, yes, you pay.
Well,
If you want a false birth certificate, yes, you can pay and get a false birth certificate
even genuine.
from a person sitting downstairs at the GPO.
Why is he locked up?
You should go and ask that question yourself. Why is he not being locked up?
There are even
But I'm saying, all right, let's take it one at a time.
one at a time. One last one.
Let,
and then
no,
we can
all right,
take
all right,
on.
let's take it one at a time. Don't let's get hot and bothered. I am saying this question of what you call rampant corruption. I would refrain from those adjectives and those descriptive, words that you introduce to sex up the matter. Why can't we just say corruption?
All right. Corruption, drop rampant.
Good.
There are even reports of corruption.
I'm not finished.
All right, sorry.
I think I get the drift.
In your ministry too?
I think I get the drift.
You got people firearm license.
In my ministry doesn't grant firearm licenses.
Being whatever. I know you don't.
Now, we have put up a website called I Paid a Bribe.
Mhm.
I don't know how many of you have visited that website, but it was precisely to deal with this question that you're raising now that we introduced that website. I am asking, I'm not begging. I think that deserves some credit. But the media, no section of the media has seen it fit to give credit where credit is due for the establishment of that website. It is the only one in the country. It is the only ministry that has set up such a website. The question is why? Because the Ministry of Home Affairs is concerned, like everybody else is concerned. But we took an initiative, precisely because of the consistent and persistent complaints of corruption in the Guyana Police Force and in other departments that fall under the Ministry of Home Affairs. So we need to have some balance in this matter. Give Jack his jacket for establishing the website I Paid a Bribe, but at the same time recognize that the instances of reported corruption are appearing on the website. Whenever those reports appear, we would send them to the relevant agencies or departments and ask them to deal with it. Ask them to deal with it. That's what we would do. So we wouldn't leave it at that, because we would monitor that website, extract from this website where reports are made, send it to the relevant government agencies in the department and ask them to address it. At least we would be doing our duty. And I think we should be given credit for that too. But let us get the credit. Don't say, all right, and just brush it under the carpet and only look for the sexy part.
No, we're going to give you credit. Will you still denying that there is corruption in the public service?
I don't think anything I said was in that direction. The fact that we've set up a website is an indication of our effort to deal with it.
So why do you call for an apology then? You said Granger should apologize for making such statements. If you recognize there is corruption and you put a website for people to deal with it, Why must a man apologize for making?
He is saying, didn't you read what he said in your own newspaper? Read the context in which he said it. That people are going in for drugs in the public service to top up their salaries because the salaries are too low paid by government. Ask him. Ask him at his next press conference if it is true. Don't ask me. I never made that statement. Granger made the statement. Take him to task.
The World Bank did say that 60% of the population lives
Who?
in the World Bank, a World Bank report.
Uh-huh.
Not they find it live in poverty, and 36% live in abject poverty in this country.
Yeah.
I mean, 60% of the population is an ordinary figure.
What are you saying?
That's 60%
I'm not.
will be poor.
I am not going to contest that. I think there are many people in this country who come from poor families, but they weren't dishonest. They never ended up as a thief or a drug trafficker. I come from a very poor family, and I never ended up stealing anything. So it doesn't follow ipso facto that because you come from a poor family, you end up as a criminal. People may be poor, but they're not naked.
Has there ever been a report or a survey conducted, I don't know who would have done it, to look at the living wage, how the minimum wage really affects the living wage, if the living wage is at the same level?
You said you don't know if they've done it?
Yeah, I can't recall.
You don't recall? Well, I think the best place to put that question is to the Minister of Labour.
A survey on minimum
Hmm?
wage. A survey on minimum wage.
Yeah, they would deal with matters like that.
Next. Any other?
Stemming from the reports that you've received on the website and aided by...
Pardon?
Stemming from the reports that you've received from the website
Uh-huh.
and aided by website,
Mm.
how many prosecutions have been made?
Prosecutions? My friend, if there's any prosecutions, that would be left to the department or the agency to pursue it in order to take it to that level.
All right, so when you forward these reports...
I'm not
to
aware.
agencies, they don't send back a report?
They don't have to report back to us what action they've
How do
taken.
you measure its effectiveness?
Just a minute, let me answer one question at a time. When we send this information to the relevant government agency and department that has been named, we consider our duty accomplished.
Let's say
They now have to take it from there to either carry out a departmental investigation or to do whatever they think is necessary internally. We would not be intrusive in the department. At least we're giving them the information. Don't you think that's something to be given some credit?
And in the case of the police force, let's say a report comes against the
We send that information to the police. We send that information to the Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police is left with the responsibility now to investigate the matter internally. When you meet with the Commissioner, you should ask him how many of these investigations stemming from the I Paid By website has he conducted. You recall the Commissioner one time spoke about corruption in the force? Check your records, you will hear what he would have said. And now that he's leaving, I'm sure he would be willing to answer those questions. Yes,
Yes,
Mr.
I'm asking
Mr.
Mr.
Cabral.
How do you measure the effectiveness from the ministry standpoint of the I Paid By website if you're only considering your job accomplished?
No. We're not only considering. Be careful with your language. We're not only considering any specific issue. We are considering the number of hits. That's how we consider how successful we are. By the number of hits we get on the website. Many people judge how effective their websites are by determining the amount, by checking the number of hits they get. If you get 1,000 hits a day, I guess you would say it's successful. If you get 1 hit a day, I guess you would say it's not successful.
There is a successful.
But I'm talking about the actual complaints.
Well, you're asking, how do we measure our success
Right.
or the effectiveness? We measure the effectiveness by the number of hits.
Not by the complaints.
By the number of hits. Hits are complaints. Hits are complaints. People don't go to the website for any other reason but to complain about bribe taking.
And how many hits or complaints have you had?
I don't remember the exact figures. Regrettably, I'm not at the Home Affairs Ministry this afternoon. If I had that, if I was there, I would have gotten that available.
But from those hits, would you say the corruption is fairly widespread?
No, not from the hits. Not from the hits. As you know, they are, for example, on the crime scene, there are reported crimes and non-reported crimes, right? When the police publish the statistics every month about the number of crimes in Guyana, particularly serious crimes, there's some who take it seriously, there's some who don't, because they say, oh, what about the non-reported crimes? Hard to know. Well, in the same area, you have reported bribes and non-reported bribes. We can only measure on the basis of what is reported to us. Were we to go out in the arena of the non-reported, we'll be wallowing in an arena of speculation. And we wouldn't want to get there. This is a government. We don't want to get party, ruling party. We want to get into that.
Max, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pardon?
Anybody want to ask? Okay. Any other question?
Yes, sir. One last one, and then you said that.
I have an hour to spend with you, you know.
We got time like to spend time with you when we produce song when we get to work. You said that people have spoken.
You're not at
to
work
this-
now?
Yeah.
You're not at work now?
No, we having to put what you saying to work. You see, this is preparation. It's
Lovely
like
spin,
making-
Adam.
Like Minister, the people have spoken. The message is loud.
Mhm.
Pass the bill before the House. And there is the man from Lusignan who said, well, let's have public protests on the elections.
Mm-hmm.
Is the party prepared to go down the road of elections as we speak?
You say down the road as though it's a road that we should
To
not
go
be
the way
going
of
down.
elections, forget down the road.
Oh.
Party prepared to go the way of elections.
PPP, since I know the PPP, Adam Morris. The PPP, since I have been a member of this party, is never ready.
Never ready?
It's never ready.
They're always ready to say something.
I thought it was double negative. Oh, it's double negative.
Double negative or positive.
Say you're ready for the double negative.
The party is always ready. And especially now the time the General Secretary.
So who called it? Who set the date? Because we can
Which
see-
one of the dates?
Well, for the elections, I mean. we
Which
can
one of the
talk about
elections? There are two types of
Don't
elections
forget
that people are
local
talking
governments.
about.
That's almost a dead.
No, you can't forget that.
You want to hold that one first?
He's trying to set me up.
Minister Rooney, why is the PPP and the government, or why are the PPP and the government ignoring the numerous calls by very many persons at these AML consultations for Guyanese to return to the polls?
We're not ignoring the calls.
So what are you doing about that?
We are heeding the calls. We never ignore the people. We're always with the people.
You're heeding the calls, so what action will you take
Which one of the calls?
for elections,
Which one election?
national elections?
Well, that has to be balanced against the exigencies of the situation.
Could you elaborate?
There are two types of elections that are now in the air. Local government elections and general elections. If you go there, you hear people talking about it. I wouldn't say the society is divided on which one should come first, but there are views out there. And we have to take into consideration all the views. We have to take into consideration our supporters' opinions, our members' opinions. We have to engage in wide consultations. And, you know, this is not a matter that is easily arrived at. It's not a matter that is easily arrived at. I've seen where the chairman of the elections of GCOM has said that they're ready. Well, GCOM may very well be ready, but are the people?
What yardstick have you used to measure the people's readiness?
Well, you go around and talk to people and ask them if they know how the elections are going to be run, if they have enough education, if they know about the new system.
Don't talk about that.
You know, you're a journalist, my friend. You need to do the investigative journalism. Find it from people. These elections are going to be totally new.
The national election?
No, man, we're talking about the local government.
We're talking about national elections. That is what the people are calling for. Are these consultations?
I don't know people are calling for that.
At the consultations.
There was a voice that called for that.
Several.
A gentleman got up at Lusignan and called for that. A gentleman got up at the convention center and called for a referendum. You know, there's a plethora of views out there. I don't think there's total unanimity in the country. I'm not talking about only our supporters, you know, I'm talking about the country, Guyanese. I don't think there's total unanimity on the part of a significant number of Guyanese on one elections or the other. It's a matter that is being debated out there. I don't think the debate is finished as yet. The jury is not in as yet.
But if,
And the party is listening. The party is listening.
How much longer is the party prepared to give before it comes to a decision on whether it should be
Well, you know,
national or local?
you know, you have to be in politics to understand something that's called political judgment. This is something that most politicians are attuned to after years and years of political experience. Something called political judgment. It's not something that is easily acquired. So, depending on, and there's another factor called the mood of the people. You know, you have to be able to judge the mood of the people. And in judging the mood of the people, you have to be careful you're not ahead of them or you're not too much behind them.
Or is it that the PP is using this opportunity to put up sentiments around the AML so that it can, you know, persuade people to, or its supporters as well as its detractors, to vote for them in the next elections, as if you're using this as a political tool to campaign indirectly?
That would be a cheap political tool. We don't believe in using cheap political tools to advance our political agenda.
Any expensive ones?
The expensive one is walk on the ground. Day in, day out, like I said at the Babujan activity, and even be prepared to like Nicodemus. You heard me. That's the expensive one. Expensive in the sense not of cost, but time consuming, patient work. You know, I see Demarawe is getting a lot of noise, they keep getting a lot of noise because Granger is walking at Lusignan and Monrepo. I hope when we start walking, give a similar coverage.
Yes, push.
well, if, when you're talking about the people's readiness though, if GCOM is saying that they would be ready in 6 months, isn't that what happens within that 6 months, that you would bring people up to speed on what the new process is gonna be and how you're gonna go about doing that? So if the political parties are ready, if GCOM is ready, the people can be ready. If, I mean, you're having people at these forums.
Well, if the political parties say that they're ready, it means that they have a sense that that judgment call has arrived. But GCOM can always say they're ready. Yeah, the political, all the parties ready. You see, we have the experience in many countries when people go to new elections held under totally new conditions and they don't understand the rules, they don't understand how they should vote, they don't understand many things, and as a result of that there's confusion on the ground. Even in elections that are held almost every day in Guyana, almost every 5 years, you go to many polling stations, you find confusion. this person's name is on this voters list. It's not at this polling station. They have to change 5 different polling stations or to run around at 5 different polling stations to find their names. So much so that GCOM had to appoint, what those people were called? At the polling station, information officers. Information officers at polling places to help people find where to vote or where they're not to vote. And even some of the information officers were misinforming people and sending them running helter-skelter. So, you know, all of us would like to have a perfect elections. All of us would like to have elections that are non-controversial. I think that's the dream of every single Guyanese. You know, as those who have been following these preparations of these and these laws that have been passed would know, these things require a lot of explanation, a lot of public relations. I noticed GCOM had started it just before the Christmas holidays and then they stopped. They got to keep educating the people all the time. You know, people are not going to spend every day focusing on elections. They focus on bread and butter issues every day. They focus on their jobs every day. They focus on the single parent mothers. Focus on so many things every day, so many demands every day. You know, you got to help them through your public relations to focus on the new rules and the new games under which this local government elections are going to be held. You have to help them understand it.
Don't you think that the political parties then could use their weekly press conferences, like 20 minutes, and help to facilitate that?
Well, that is true. The political parties have a role to play too. The political parties have always had a role to play in educating their members and supporters and the general public at large on how elections are conducted, whether they're general or regional, or, well, this one, local government, which are being held under totally new arrangements. But yes, we have a role to play, not only GCOM. And it is precisely because we have a role to play that we can judge, you know, the mood of the people, the readiness of the people. And, you know, we got to be careful we don't blame the people either, you know. You don't blame the people if they're not ready. It just means that we didn't do enough work.
Minister, down the road of, I still on this corruption.
Pardon?
If I still on this corruption thing, this
Okay.
is the last question I ask. If people should ask, if people gauge their corruption, gauge their perception of corruption on the apparent movement of some of your colleagues from rags to riches, would you say that that's a fair assessment?
I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say that's a fair assessment. I have to give myself as an example. You know, I've been walking since I was 17 years of age. Right? I've been walking since I was 17 years of age. And all I'm earning now is approximately $300,000 a month as a minister. It is true that I get certain amenities that come along with it, you know, but I know some people work for more than $300,000 a month and some never work yet. And still they manage to accumulate things. I know most of my colleagues who are working, have been working all years of their life. Maybe they didn't start out at my level. Maybe because they had a university degree and they were highly qualified. You know, I never had a university degree.
When you look at some of them, or it never tickle your head to see how they get this, knowing them so well.
Well, you got to tell me like who so.
Where do you want me to
Well, I can't make a generalized statement.
Take your former president, Barra Jack Dio,
Yes.
who, according to the Attorney General, had nothing prior to his accession to office.
Which Attorney General?
Anand Lal.
He said so?
Yes, he said so.
Where?
He did that publicly. I mean, I can find the quote.
When he said he had nothing, what did he mean? He knew what his bank account was when he was at State Planning Department? No, but please.
I don't know if
When Bar Jagdio came back from Moscow, right? When Bar Jagdio came back from Moscow and was looking for a job, he had a difficult time getting a job. Eventually he got a job at the State Planning Secretariat under Mr. Paris. Right. And that's where he actually started out working, earning. He was still a bachelor. He wasn't married.
Right.
He was still living with his parents.
Right.
I don't know how much money he was earning, but I assume that he was saving money. I assume that he had some savings.
Yeah. Well, remember,
Then then the PPP came into office. He became the junior finance minister under Asghar Ali, and he was earning money there as well. He still remained a bachelor. He was living with his parents. He obviously was saving. If people could do that and save now, how come Jagdeo couldn't do that and save them? Because he was Jagdeo?
But to build a house like that?
Build a house like, you mean now?
The duplex, yeah. Plus you had a house before that he sold for, somebody helped me, $120 million. I mean, how we can build them things? Where the money may come from? I don't care how much he saved. This boy lived with his mother. He's a bachelor.
So we said a Jagdeo thief?
May I ask
No,
you?
say that. If you want to say that, you say that.
I
You
can't.
say that Jagdeo stole,
I am
who
not
he stole
saying
from,
that.
what he
I
stole.
am
No, Adam,
I
let's be
think-
frank here.
You be
If you
frank.
want to say that Jagdeo got built that house as a result of corrupt theft and so on, of whatever the case, you say that.
No, I'm asking you.
No, you can't ask me. I'm not Jagdeo.
No, but may I ask
I'm not
you?
Jagdeo. I'm Jagdeo's colleague. I'm
Yes.
Jagdeo's comrade.
Chief,
But I will not agree. I will never agree that Jagdeo stole money. Jagdeo engaged in corrupt practices where he siphoned off money from government to build that house. I will never agree to that.
I agree.
And then again, if there's anyone who has evidence, bring the evidence.
I agree. Robert Prasad,
What happened with him?
he announced that he sold his house, the one he had in Eccleston, his brother, for 100.
He announced what?
That he sold his house. the
Where,
one
where
had
did he
in
announce
Eccleston.
that?
Yeah.
Where did he announce that?
On the question 2 years ago before he moved into that.
Where he announced it?
In response to questions.
Where?
asked by the media.
No, I didn't ask you to whom did he announce it. Where did he announce it?
Well, I don't know if he make a public announcement, but he did say that.
No.
He
No,
sold his brother and
But
the
Adam,
records.
Adam, please. You
I-
are,
alright.
no, please.
You think Robert?
No,
would
please,
own the
please,
house?
please. You are addressing the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party, the ruling party of this country.
Correct.
I am also a sitting minister of government,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
I am not available to answer speculative questions, and I'm not available to answer questions that you say is from one source or the other.
All right.
I have to be very responsible
I agree.
in what I'm saying or
But,
whatever I do.
Chief, but I ask you, if from your perception, you look at some of the movement your colleagues from rags to riches, if something went off in your head to suggest that all isn't right here,
Well,
then
if,
you look at what
well, let me tell you this, if something wasn't right, it would have already been discovered. If something was not right, it would have already been discovered and exposed. And trust me, Kaicho News will be the first to expose it, but Kaicho News ain't got a damn thing. Kaicho News has nothing. All it has is tracking this man from one thing to the next. And Bobby, what's his name? Bobby who? Bobby Ramroop. Full page coverage, center spread. Kaicho News, I can tell you, has nothing. If it has something, publish it. I'm challenging the Kaicho News to do that. It has nothing. If it has something, publish it. Where the thief, who the thief from, how much the thief, and what to do with the thief and money. You publish it.
All right, that's a nice
All right,
one.
last question, yeah.
Mr. Louis, last week at your press conference, you said that 2 experts were flown in to address the 911 system. And you also said that you had to go over the documents they presented to you and pronounce on the issue for them. Have you read the documents?
With document.
The expert recommendation.
No, it hasn't come to me as yet. I haven't gotten the reports. You mean in 9/11 experts who were here?
Yes.
No, they haven't sent it as yet. They haven't received anything as yet.
You have
They said within a month's time. I doubt whether a month has passed since they came and left.
Minister, going
But I haven't
forward,
received
how does
anything
the
as yet.
government intend to-
Pardon?
Going forward, how does the government intend to get the ANLCMT bill passed?
How do we intend to go forward?
No, how do you intend to get it passed?
This is a political battle. This is politics that is playing out here, which we don't agree with, right? this is something that we don't agree with, where there's political bargaining on what we should get and what we shouldn't get in order to get this bill passed. I think Mr. Yesu Busad, right, wrote a letter which I think was commended by various sections of the population. So it's regrettable that this ended up in this kind of political quagmire. It's regrettable. It's a pretty straightforward matter, but everybody is trying to eke out some kind of political mileage from, before they can show in their weight to get the bill passed. So it's a political struggle. Parliament is a forum for political struggle. We are taking this matter to the people to get their opinion, and that's why we thought it was useful to bring this thing to the press conference, this review of our outreach meeting so far. And in addition to that, it's a process of educating the people as well. I read a report somewhere, I think it was in the Kaicho News, I think, where some persons were interviewed at Linda, where Mr. Solomon is now saying that they will do their own outreach meetings. And I think 2 persons were interviewed, and the persons up there were saying that they don't know much about this bill. This is unfortunate, But I think an outreach meeting was done at Linden, and I think, this is consistent with the philosophy of the government and the party to constantly keep educating the people. It's important for the people to know what this thing is all about. So that is one way of going forward, keeping the people informed and with you. That's what the political mission is all about. You cannot succeed one way or the other if you don't have the people with you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much.
Since you're the board department, you get enough strength, you invite me. And you...
You're recording.